Hello everyone, and welcome to Crystal Cast Questions, where I answer your questions about Sailor Moon. So some of these questions I'm going to get through here. I know it's been a while. I'm going to get through some older questions that have been in my queue for a while, and then I'll try to quickly move on to the newest questions. I'll try to do this a lot more often so I can get to your questions faster. So first of all, we have Tuxedo Mark starting off. This is a big one, so I'm going to try and be brief with my answer. Regarding the original anime, have you ever considered what the original timeline was like before Chibi-usa ran away and went back in time? All we see in the anime is that the altered timeline with Chibi-usa in the present where she doesn't belong. Also, Chibi-usa had altered the timeline further by traveling back in time again and involving herself in most of the events of S, all of the events of Super S, and the early part of Stars. Would you care to speculate on how you think events originally played out? Well, there are probably Moony dissertations written on this. Well, basically, like you said, the events of R and knowing the Black Moon family never would have happened. The Black Moon, I guess it would have just been peaceful because the Black Moon would have just stayed in the future and we never would have never would have gone to the future to confront them, so there would have been no Black Moon. As far as S I don't think would have changed that much, because while Chibi-usa was there for about half of it, she didn't really have a huge impact, except for befriending Hotaru. So I think that S probably would have been mostly the same, except we wouldn't have had the really like cute friendship between Chibi-usa and Hotaru. But I don't think that Hotaru's friendship with Chibi-usa would have really like changed the outcome. I think that the outcome would have been the same. Now Super S would have been way different. Like Super S is like revolves around Chibi-usa. Perhaps Pegasus would have found someone else to kind of attach himself to. Perhaps Usagi. Maybe there wouldn't have been that romance thing that happened between Helios and Chibi-usa, but maybe he would have found Usagi's pure heart and, you know, beautiful dreams and attached himself to her. There just wouldn't have been that romance. I think the beginning of Stars would have been relatively the same because Chibi-usa was there, but she didn't make so huge of an impact that it would have completely changed it. She just wouldn't have been there to be that source of tension when we saw her almost disappear when we thought that they weren't going to make it out of this. Like Chibi-usa started disappearing because Neherenia had taken Mamoru, and so we're like, oh no, she's starting to disappear, so that whole thing just wouldn't have happened. Letter Robo asks, would you be willing to talk about Sailor Moon Another Story RPG? It's basically its own filler arc story-wise, just in game form, so I'm sure it's got enough meat. However, it'll be really neat if you were to talk about some of the other Sailor Moon games, like the Super S fighting game on the Super Famicom. This is another question that I could go on and on and on about. As far as the games, I've talked a lot about Another Story, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but yes, it is its own fully fleshed out story. It's amazing. It's like a Final Fantasy type game. It's Sailor Moon in game form, and it's got new villains, and it's got old villains and old characters, and it's a fantastic game, and it's a fantastic story. None of the fighting games and stuff don't really have that much of a story. Like, they give a little bit of exposition, so you're like, oh, why are they fighting each other? Like, but it's not like a story. Like Sailor Moon Another Story is a fully fledged story with a beginning and an end. It's almost its own season. So I don't know what else you want me to say about it here, except look out for Let's Play of it on my channel. Daryl Green has a couple questions. Inner Guardians versus the Holy Quintet. In other words, Sailor Moon versus Madoka. Who would win in a fight? And you mentioned fanfiction. If they were to meet, what season would suit the quintet best to assist the girls? Spoiler alerts for Madoka. Well, seeing as we saw a lot of the characters in Madoka die, I would say, I mean, we've seen Sailor Moon characters die, the Senshi die, but, you know, they were always resurrected. I would actually, I would say that Sailor Moon and the Inner Senshi would win. Unless you're talking about, like, Madoka in God form, but then she wouldn't be against the Sailor Senshi. Like, I mean, you could argue that she's all powerful in God form, but at the same time, she's not there. Like, if she's in God form, then she's hunting witches. And if you could, I guess you could say that, oh, if it's before they're turned into magical girls, then they could use one of their wishes to just wish the inner senshi dead, and then that works. But there's so many different states of the Madoka girls that's a really hard question. But I'm gonna say the inner senshi and the Ginzui show would win out. What season would suit the quintet the best? It would probably be cool if they were in stars, because then you have the whole Galaxia and the universe and the galaxy, and that kind of ties in with God Madoka. So yeah, probably stars. Why do you think Haruka was very masculine wearing in the 90s anime, whereas in the manga she's seen in more feminine outfits? I think that was possibly done just like maybe just as a storytelling thing. If she wore something very feminine, then the very first their introductory episode wouldn't have been as hilarious as it was. Maybe just how anime is, and seeing Haruka and Michiru together all the time, it just kind of lends itself to like seeing them as a couple on the screen better. I don't know, but I am looking forward to, if we get the Infinity arc in Sailor Moon Crystal, it's going to be very interesting if they keep some of her more feminine outfits for that. That's going to be really interesting. I'm looking forward to that. What do you think of Chibi-usa and Hotaru's friendship in both manga and the first anime? Would you like to see it again in Crystal if we get to the third arc? Of course! I don't know much about it in the manga, so I can't really comment on that, but in the anime it was super sweet, and they were like, Chibi-usa was just so nice to Hotaru, and Hotaru just like came out of her shell when she met Chibi-usa, and I hope that we get that kind of like beautiful friendship between the two in Crystal. I really, really hope so, because it was one of the, I can't say the best thing. I was about to say that's one of the best things about S, but it's one of many, many wonderful things about the third season or the third arc. So I hope that we get to see that in Crystal. Why do you think they didn't change Sailor Moon's transformation with the new brooch? This is talking about Crystal. I think it's because there was no point in changing it, since she is Sailor Moon and not Super Sailor Moon. I was very disappointed when they didn't change her transformation, because her transformation changed in every season of the original anime. I think that maybe just with their really fast production schedule, they probably didn't have time and almost didn't see a point in changing it completely with her new brooch, especially because it's, like you said, the same form of Sailor Moon. She basically just, the brooch changes, that's it. I still have this feeling that we're going to get the first two arcs are kind of put together as Sailor Moon Crystal, and then we're going to get not a separate series, but it's going to be like the third arc is going to be called Sailor Moon Infinity, and the fourth is Sailor Moon Dream. I have this, I don't know, I just have this feeling that that's how they're going to do it. And maybe that was just a way of like combining the first two arcs together, is not changing her transformation. So you're going to have like season 1 is almost going to be these 52 episodes, and then you'll kind of signify a new season and a completely new story with S, and then she'll have this new transformation, hopefully. But then again, she hasn't become Super Sailor Moon right away. She gets her Cosmic Locket, and she's still her first Sailor Moon Fuku, and then later on she becomes Super, so See, in the original anime, she got a new transformation every single time she got a new brooch. She got a new transformation, even in S. And then when she became Super Sailor Moon, she got another transformation for Super Sailor Moon, even though it was much shorter than her normal transformation. So we're gonna have to see. I don't know. Nana F asks, do you think Naoko Takeuchi will do an interview about how she feels about Sailor Moon Crystal? I highly doubt she's going to do a whole interview about how she feels about it. Maybe within other interviews and within other like events or press events, maybe we'll hear a little bit about how she likes or dislikes it. She's really involved in the making of it. I'm sure she doesn't make 100% of the final decisions, but I think it's safe to say that she does like it, and she at least likes it a lot more than the original anime, because she has a lot more say in it. But as far as like a full interview, like sitting down with Naoko Takeuchi and asking her how she feels about this aspect of Crystal and this aspect of Crystal, I don't think that's ever going to happen, because she's so private and she doesn't do a lot of interviews and that kind of stuff, so I don't think so, but we might hear snippets here and there. That's my guess. Sailor Believer, do you prefer the Shiteno in the 90s anime when they're rivals with each other, or Crystal in manga when they are more of a team and show that they care about each other? I love so much better like how they are in Crystal, where they work together. Not even so much in the manga, because I think in the manga, I don't know how much they interacted with each other, but one died before another showed up. So seeing in Crystal, like finally all 4 of them together made me like the Shiteno more than I've ever liked them before. So Crystal is definitely my favorite version of the Shiteno by far. That's just besides the fact that they got this thing going with the Inner Senshi, which I'm still disappointed that we didn't really see more of. But the fact that it's there now and it's canon is amazing. I love it. Usagi has 4 main guardians, as we know, but out of all the Senshi, which 4 would be your personal Senshi? For example, I would choose Jupiter, Venus, Uranus, and Pluto. So if this is asking, like, if I had to pick 4 of the Senshi to be, like, my guardians, which 4 would I want? That's really hard because there's different aspects of that. Like, if you're asking, like, which ones do I think could protect me the best, like, which are the strongest, then I would probably just choose the strongest Senshi, like Uranus, Jupiter, probably Pluto, just for like her time powers, and like Mars, maybe, or maybe Venus instead of Mars. Yeah. Okay, the last question for today is, why do you think Toei chose the 3D route? Sure, it was beautiful, but with 2D, it can be more beautiful because it is unlimited. I don't know. I don't like these questions where it's like, why do you think they did this? It's like, I don't know. I'm not the production company. They could have done it for a million reasons. I think they chose 3D just because that they were trying to show that this series is a little more futuristic, like it's more modern. Even if some people didn't think that the 3D was 100% like what it could have been, like it still shows that it's a more modern series. I agree that the 2D is beautiful, and I kind of would have liked to see new transformations in 2D, like with the new 2D character designs. I would have loved to see that, but I've learned to love the 3D transformations. I like them. Alright guys, that is all the questions I'm going to answer today. These were some older backlogged ones. I still have more that are coming from my ask.fm page. If you would like to ask me new questions for the next Crystalcast question video, then please either leave them down below or go to my ask.fm page at ask.fm/AuroraPeachy. I will be looking both places for questions, and I will pick my favorite ones and answer them on the next episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye bye!